The world of handmade business can be tough when trying to monetize what you love. We've got truth bombs and motivation to help you find your way through. Passion to profit, let's start today, 'cause the world needs what you create. Tune in right now, it's your shot to learn how to be a handmade boss.
Hello everyone and welcome back to How to Be a Handmade Boss podcast. This is your place to be if you want to scale and grow your business from an expensive hobby to continuous six figures and beyond on Etsy and your own website. And I help over 126,000 business owners every single week with my free advice. And you really need to subscribe to this podcast. If you have a handmade business or you dream of running one full-time one day, then definitely subscribe, because I'm going to be dropping all of the good stuff every single week in this podcast. So today we're going to be doing something a little bit different, where basically we have set something up. It's called Vocal. It's a really cool tool where basically you can send me a voice note question. Now basically how this works is that you get the link, you literally click on it, no tech needed. All you do is you just click record your voice note, your question, and we might feature it in an upcoming episode. So if you want to send me your question, the link for Vocal will be in the show notes below, okay? But today's question comes from Soul Seed Jewellery, and they ask,
what would be your best tip to shift mindset and stay motivated to do tasks that you don't enjoy, such as, accounts, bookkeeping, PR activity, business development, reaching out to retailers, all that sort of thing, that don't give you that immediate reward and dopamine hit quite quickly? I do struggle with that sort of thing, with keeping going for weeks and months at a time when I don't particularly see results automatically or straight away, even though I know that these things take time. So what would be your best tip to shift that mindset and stay motivated in doing these activities instead of running away into the things that I love doing instead?
So what I'm getting from this is that sometimes we just have things that we need to do we don't really want to do. We're finding it tricky to motivate ourselves to actually do these things. And sometimes, we aren't going to see an instant thing from it. I feel that the way things are now versus 10 years ago is that we can post something on social media and get feedback within 20 minutes or so. We can put a product up online and know pretty much within 3 to 4 months if it's going to sell or not, if it's going to do good. The problem with a lot of tasks in business is that I feel like as entrepreneurs, our brains are wired to kind of really crave that immediate feedback, that immediate dopamine hit. And it's almost like we have become quite accustomed to being this instant gratification society, right? Which I am very, very guilty of as well. I completely feel what Soul Seed Jewellery is saying, because it's literally like sometimes when people are saying, you need to do this, you need to do like your taxes, you need to do, even like working out, right? I mean, let's just take the business head completely out of it for a second. If someone says to you, if you want to look a certain way, or you want to be healthier, or you want to be fitter, or whatever your goal is, you have to work out consistently 3 days a week. But you're not even going to start to see results until you've been doing it consistently without failure for like 4 to 6 months. That's why for a lot of people, when they start an exercise routine or a healthy eating routine or any routine of any kind where you're not seeing results straight away, it can be really tricky to actually continue to do that when we're not seeing results. I feel like, to summarize all of that, as entrepreneurs, we are very results driven because it's literally in us. We know that if we're not seeing results from something, whether that be marketing, whether that be products, whether that be our brand, our target audience, our niche, whatever that is, we are trained to sniff out where the results are and go all in on it. But what happens when you're not really seeing results? You're not really seeing bad things either. It's just what it is. So what I've done is I've got together a load of my best, I don't want to say tips and tricks because that makes it sound really trivial, but all of the things that I kind of do, I shift my mindset to, and even all of the activities that I do just to make all of these types of things feel a lot more enjoyable. So number one is to reframe your perspective on these things. So the problem with a lot of mundane tasks where you're not seeing results straight away is we see them as this thing equals results, this thing equals sales, this thing affects my bottom line. And the problem with this is that we're not actually seeing these things as essential stepping stones towards your long-term business success. I want you to, instead of being like, oh, you know what, I have to do this thing, I have to do my taxes, I have to do business development, I have to reach out to retailers and send endless amounts of emails or DMs, I have to have back and forth, I have to do customer service. Instead of saying I have to, instead reframe it to I get to. And it's going to take a little bit of practice for a couple of weeks, but I think once you actually get to do that and actually get to flip the script on yourself, you start to see that, you know what, there are a lot of people out there that haven't even got this far, that, had an idea for a business, never did anything with it, had an idea for a hobby or a product that they could create and never even got that far with it. So instead of saying I have to, say I get to. Now, another thing here is focus on the positives, which I know it sounds really wishy-washy, but okay, so you get to do your accounts. Well, what's a positive of getting to do your accounts? Well, you immediately can see how much profit you've made, what your ins and outs are. You can reduce your tax bill. You get to finally kind of say, okay, this is what profit I had this year. This is what expenses I had this year. It is laid out for you in black and white. Not only that, but for me, I often feel very much after I've done my accounts and my taxes and my bookkeeping, I feel really accomplished and like I've put my big girl pants on. And that in itself is a feeling to enjoy. You are like a legit business owner because you have done your bookkeeping, you've done your taxes and all that kind of stuff. Another example that you mentioned was your PR, reaching out to people and seeing if they want you to do a blog or kind of collaborate in some way, shape or form. Now, I know it must be really mundane and really boring when you're shooting off a ton of emails and no one responds back, but because you get to do that thing, one day it's inevitable, it's a numbers game. One day you are going to be featured and it's going to be like a physical manifestation of your expertise and of how far you've come. A lot of the time we do kind of focus on, you know what, I've seen this person on Instagram and they have been featured in, I don't know, Entrepreneur magazine and this and this and this. But what you don't see is the weeks and months and sometimes years of them doing that thing every single week, those mundane tasks, and really kind of focusing on the positive aspects of it, knowing that one day it is going to pay off. Number 2 is break these tasks into smaller chunks. Now, I know one of the things that you mentioned in your voice note was to reach out to retailers. So I feel like this is probably centered around a goal of being featured in 3 shops this year or 5 shops this month or whatever your goal is. And reaching out to retailers is probably one of the things that is one of those chunks. But can you divide that into further chunks? So rather you being like, oh, I have to send, 30 emails out today, could you do like 5 every hour? Or could you do 10 every hour? Or could you break it up with something enjoyable? So could you say, okay, I'm going to send 5 emails out and then I'm going to go and make myself a hot chocolate. I'm going to send another 5 out and then I'm going to go and do this. Is there any way that you can break that out so it's not such a black hole in your day and in your time where it's just sucking everything in, and you just end up feeling like, I don't want to do that thing because there's more enjoyable, creative things that I could be doing. Also, one thing that I do like to do, if it is really one of those things that I really don't like doing, is I like to get creative with it. So if splitting it up into like better, smaller chunks isn't really working for you, if making it fun and doing something in between isn't really working for you, then something that I like to do is actually have like a chart where I tick my progress off as I go. And I'm like, okay, well, I've done 5, so I'm gonna give myself a tick here, or I've done 10 and I'm gonna color in this chart here. It literally takes 2 minutes for you to find and print off like a tick chart, or I don't know, something where you color it in and at the bottom is where you are now, at the top is where your goal should be, and you color it in. I just think making it less of like a adulting task and actually making it more fun and creative is something that's worth trying. Now, number 3, which kind of comes off of the back of number 2, is implement some kind of rewards system. You know what? When I was a kid, I never had like a chore chart where if you did X, you got Y. I know I never had that, but bet your bottom dollar if I did, I would probably have done a lot more chores because you are giving yourself some kind of reward that aligns with what you really want. So, for example, after completing a set amount of bookkeeping or PR stuff, treat yourself to a nice hot bath, treat yourself to a walk out in nature, a hot chocolate, a cake, a coffee, whatever that thing is. I just feel like sometimes as business owners, there's a lot of stuff that we feel we have to do. And if the rewards aren't the result, you have to create the rewards yourself. This is why sometimes, you know, when people don't like cleaning and they just really struggle to do it, sometimes it's like, okay, you know what, I have to do cleaning. It's just one of those things. And I can't seem to find enjoyment, you know, in other ways. So therefore, when I've done 2 hours of cleaning up or laundry or whatever that thing is, I'm going to do something nice for myself. So is there a way that you can scatter in some kind of rewards when you're doing these things? Okay. Now, another cool way that you could do this is actually put the rewards throughout doing it. So for me, sometimes it's a real bugbear to get myself up and out and dressed and actually go out for a walk. It's one of those things that I know it's going to impact my mental health. I know it's going to make me feel good. I know I'm never going to come back and regret going for a walk. But sometimes when it's grey and it's gloomy, when it's cold, when I'm just tired, I just don't want to do it. So what I do is, rather than being like, oh, I got to go out for a walk, I say to myself, okay, you know what? I'm going to move my body, but I'm going to listen to an audiobook that I've been meaning to listen to, or I'm going to listen to some really funky music, or I'm going to listen to a really nice couple of podcast episodes or something like that. You're basically doing 2 things at once, but you're integrating something that you want to do. I know I've used cleaning as an example before, but it's the same as cleaning. You could put on some dance music whilst you're doing it, put on a movie, put on or do something that you enjoy doing. Do something at the same time that you like that just really helps you to just get that thing done. Number 4 is to visualize the long-term benefits and actually keep your why at the forefront of your mind. There's a reason why there's a lot of things that we have to do as business owners, and 9 times out of 10, it's so our business can grow and thrive. But what does a thriving and growing and successful business look like to you? Just don't forget to regularly remind yourself of why you are doing these things. Now, an exercise that we do in the HBSA and in the Handmade Business Planner is that we have a Move the Mountain exercise. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's basically you put your big goal at the top, and as the layers go down, you chunk it down into quarters, into months, into weeks, into days, and into habits. I'll put the link for the planner below, so if you want to go all in on that, then you can get that there. But the thing with this is that if you're breaking it down in a Move the Mountain way, you immediately can see why you're doing things on the bottom of that rung, because you're working your way up towards the big goal at the top. It's very visual to see. Now, something that I do, I'm a very visual person. I like to be able to, in my mind's eye, see what the results are going to be by me doing this thing. So what I do myself is I always have some kind of dream board on the go. Now, if you go to episode 40, I talk to you all about my dream board and kind of what I've got on there and all that good stuff. But a dream board is so much more than just a goal setting thing. It's actually something that I've used to set goals. It's things that I've used when I'm going through a particularly tricky period in my business and life and I'm struggling to see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's where I'm putting visuals and things of what I'm hoping the end result will be in order to keep me going. So it might be worth just trying to do something like that. Number 5 is one of my favorite things, is establish a routine. Now, if you haven't read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, it might be worth a read. I've read it a couple of times now, and for me, habits have been one of the number one things that has allowed my businesses to grow consistently, because once a habit becomes something that you do automatically, it becomes a routine, the mental stress and strain and energy that you're using to actually think about the thing you want to do, settle yourself in to do the thing you want to do the thing you want to do, and wrap up the thing you want to do becomes so much less when it's a habit. Like, think about when you were a kid and your caregiver was like, you know what, you got to go brush your teeth, and you were like, no, I don't want to go brush my teeth. No. Now you don't even think twice, you just do it. Because it's so automatic, it's such a habit, you just do it. So where could you create a routine, a schedule, regular part of your workflow, and it actually just over time reduces the mental resistance that you associate with doing those really mundane, boring, annoying things that at the moment you're thinking, I don't know why I'm doing this, I'm not seeing results. Number 6, which is something that I've started doing probably from November 2024, but it's the Pomodoro timer. And there's a free website. You just type in Pomodoro timer onto Google, and I think it's like the first or second link. It's free, and it's literally in your web browser. You just click start, and it has a timer for 25 minutes. So basically how this works is that you work for 25 minutes, then you have a 5 to 10 minute break. 25 minutes, 5 to 10 minute break. And it kind of means that you are not kind of knowing that you're going to have to spend 2 hours doing this thing because you have a short break. You can go and make yourself a cup of tea. You can go and grab a snack. You can go and walk around. It makes it a lot easier for your brain to go, I'm doing this thing for 25 minutes. That's it. And then you have a break, and then you get back to it. Right, I'm doing this thing again for 25 minutes. It just makes it feel a lot more manageable for your head, and it just maintains your focus with it. The last point that I really want to go over is making sure that you celebrate this stuff. Like, if you're in the HBSA or even in the normal group, just put a post saying #win. I submitted my accounts today. I paid my tax bill today. You are going to get a myriad of likes and comments from other people that are in the same boat as you and are going to be like, you know what? I know that this is hard. Well done. And I think just acknowledging that and celebrating your wins rather than just brushing past them and being like, oh, you know what? Yeah, I did my PR stuff. I did my wholesale stuff. I did this thing and I kept going even when I wasn't seeing immediate results. That is something to be celebrated. That is a really cool thing to achieve. So publicly say, I did this thing and I'm blimmin' proud of doing it. You're never going to get people go, oh yeah, so what? And I think sometimes as well, like our internal chatter is very much along the lines of, oh yeah, I did this thing, so what? Whereas actually, if we turn that around and started to talk a little bit differently to ourselves, a little bit more how we would talk to someone we care about and love, I think that internal dialogue would start to change, and you'd start to actually recognize that, hey, you did this thing today. You didn't feel like doing it, but you did it anyway. And that is a thing to celebrate. Okay, so let's talk about your homework then. So your homework, Soul Seed Jewellery, and anyone else listening who is struggling with this or wants to get involved with this, is I want you to pick 3 things of the points that I have shared with you. So just to recap, it's reframing, perspectives, breaking tasks into smaller chunks, implementing rewards, visualizing the long-term benefits, establishing habits, routines, using the Pomodoro technique and timer, and celebrating your small wins. I really want you to pick 3 of those things. And even if 3 seems too much, just pick 1. I want you to pick, though, 3 of those things if you can, and just go all in with it. Try it for a month and see how you feel. And I would love for you to let me know in any groups that you're in, Soul Seed Jewellery. I would love for you to let me know how you get on. And if you guys are listening to this at home and you're thinking, I want a voice note, Steph, I have a burning question, then please do submit your question below. I will leave the link within the show notes, and I'll also leave it in the Facebook groups and in the link in bio on Instagram as well. So if you struggle to find it, you'll find it in those 2 places as well. And I would love for you to ask me your question, because I might pick it and do a whole podcast episode on it, just like this one. So guys, thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. It does help more people to find it. But for now, guys, I will see you same time, same place next week for another episode of How to Be a Handmade Boss. Thank you so much for tuning in to How to Be a Handmade Boss. And if you're eager to boost your Etsy sales within just 7 days, then be sure to join my most popular free training at handmadebosses.com/conversion. You can also find the link in the show notes as well. Keep an eye out for our next episode, where we'll be continuing our journey towards handmade business success together. And until then, keep crafting and stay inspired, because the world really does need those special creations that only you can make.